What's going on, everybody? We are back with NBA content because it is conference finals time. I know I did say I would bring kind of second round preview and things like that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that. I did want to bring my friend Patrick back on, but the reason why I didn't do that is just because by the time the Lakers or by the time the Rockets Thunder series finished to decide who would play the Lakers, some of the Eastern Conference matchups were already like 2, 3 games in. So I just figured me kind of picking through series that are halfway over, I don't know. I didn't like it as much, so I did wait. But basically, to kind of recap, Patrick and I were 100% on all of our first round picks. Pretty surprisingly, pretty accurate for like series and everything for the most part. So I'm pretty positive on that. Then I know it's hindsight 2020, but I would have um, definitely I would have picked obviously the Lakers to beat the Rockets. I wouldn't have picked the Nuggets, even though I do want to say I was very high on them. I said they're the third best team in the playoffs or in the NBA, and they beat the team that I ranked second. So I kind of want to take some credit, even though I was a little wrong. But I did say that I believe the Nuggets are a very, very good team. So I probably would have went with Clippers there. I would have went with the Celtics. I'm not very high on the Raptors, was not, and still am not. And I also would have picked the Heat. I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, right, but I am. If you know me, and I've talked with you, about sports before, especially this year, I have not been very high on the Bucks. I know my friend Patrick would attest to that. I have been even before the pandemic break. I was not very high on them. I believe I'm on record of saying that they were the 2016 Atlanta Hawks, just with Giannis. A little bit better, I guess. But overall, as a team, I didn't think that they were that good. So I would have definitely picked the Heat. So I would have been 3 for 4 there, which isn't bad, but yeah, those would have been my picks. So I would have had Lakers versus Clippers, Heat versus Celtics. So I would have been one off. But like I said, I didn't do any video because um, I think it was the Celtics matchup was already like into its third game or about to go into its third game by the time the Rockets won. So that's kind of why I didn't make that there. But to jump into now, um, what you guys came here for is the conference championship preview. So I know, again, very unfortunate, but the Celtics Heat are already a game in, and they actually have another game in when I'm recording this in like an hour or so. It's almost 6 o'clock where I am on Eastern time. So they play at 7, I believe, tonight. So unfortunately, they're already a game in. But again, I wanted to wait to see who the Lakers were playing, and then um, I missed yesterday because I was actually getting back from vacation. So um, do apologize for the bit delay. I know this is like a last minute video to the T, but I did just want to kind of preview both of the series. So first and foremost, the Celtics Heat. We'll start on the Eastern Conference because they are a game in. Um, if you watched Game One, it's going to be a great series. I really do think that the Celtics, the problem that they have had all playoffs long, and I know Patrick, who is a huge Celtics fan, he has kind of in our group chats that we have just gone crazy about this. But they have struggled down the stretch in meaningful games when the games are close. Brad Stevens, and you saw it in Game One. Brad Stevens is a pretty good offensive coach, and then in like the last 5 minutes or so of the fourth quarter, he kind of just scraps the team ball, or has been scrapping the team ball that they normally play, and they just go to kind of like one-on-one isolations, and it's lost them, I believe, 2 games against the Raptors, and it lost them last night's game against the Heat. I mean, it was just Kemba Walker trying to take Jimmy Butler or Hero or whoever it was off the dribble. Yeah, it works occasionally, but that's just I don't know. It's just it's weird because that's not they don't have that kind of player, and they don't. That's not their style of basketball. They're kind of a get everyone that plays involved and move the ball around and score that way. They're not really like a Rockets, just ISO team. And no offense, I mean Kemba is very good. He's a great player, but he's not that kind of player in my opinion. So it was weird to see. So that they do end up losing that game down the stretch in overtime to the Heat. It was a great game, and I think they're all going to be pretty close. But that's my only issue. I do think the series is going to go Game 7. But I do have the Heat winning, so I have the Heat making it to the finals, and that's really my main reason. If the Celtics kind of move away from what they haven't been doing, I know that's kind of like weird to say, but because that's not how they've been playing all regular season. But in the playoffs, that like down the stretch, that's what they've been doing, and it's cost them a couple of games, just not really running offense. And like I said, without a guy or without guys, like for example, if the when the Lakers do that, they have LeBron James and AD just isoing it in a pick and roll situation with everyone else kind of at the 3 point line. But you have two of the best players in the NBA doing that. Like the Celtics are either doing one on ones with Tatum or one on ones with Kemba. And I mean, they're great players, but it's not the best. That's not their brand of basketball, in my opinion. So to to kind of sum up on the Eastern Conference, I have the Heat winning. I just think that they are such a deep and such a good team, and they can kind of beat you every single way. They have the 3 point shooters. I believe that they were the number one 3 point shooting team in the league. So they shoot a lot of threes. They have Duncan Robinson, Hero. Jay Crowder has been cashing it, and then they actually have Jimmy Butler, who doesn't shoot very well from three, but he is a mid range. He's really good in the mid range and attacking the basket. So they have guys that can kind of do it all. And as we saw with Bam Adebayo's incredible block, they are one of the best defensive teams. So, in my opinion, the Heat are really, really good and really dangerous to whoever they have to play. And I think that they're going to make the finals. So that kind of rounds out the Eastern Conference preview, I guess, quote unquote. I know they're game in, so not necessarily, but so now on to the Western Conference. That game is also tonight, I believe at 9. I got to make sure I tune into that because go Lakers. And so that's this series. I'm actually more scared of the Nuggets. I know I did rank them third behind the Clippers, but if the Clippers would have won that series, they just looked checked out, and maybe if they made it to the conference finals, they would have checked back in. But playoff P, aka George Paul, aka Paul George, he sucks. I'm sorry, but in the playoffs, he is bad. Ever since he left Indiana, because he used to be a beast in Indiana in the playoffs against LeBron. But ever since he broke his leg, unfortunately, he has been horrible. I mean, that game 7, I saw two shots that I vividly remember just clanking, one off the side of the backboard and one just horrible shot. Like, I don't know what it is, but he sucks in the playoffs. So I honestly I am more scared of the Nuggets after watching that game. And, oof, I don't know. I'm trying to like my series predictions. I don't know if this is just me being an extremely optimistic Lakers fan, but I do think the Lakers will win. My reason for this is I don't know on the Nuggets who will really guard AD or LeBron. Like that's my two things are yeah, I know they have no Jokic, but he is not very good on defense, especially against quicker big men. And AD, I think, is going to destroy him on offense. And AD, people forget, or I don't know if people forget, but people don't talk about it as much. He's also probably the best defensive big man behind Giannis. So I see the Lakers kind of as if you're looking star for star, AD, in my opinion, is by far better than Jokic. So I know that's not very hot of a take, but I think that he kind of dominates that matchup. And then the second one is LeBron. Who guard Jeremy Grant and Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. has already been a nightmare on defense in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure he has one of the worst ratings defensively. He just gets used and abused. I know he's young, so he could get better, but I don't see him guarding LeBron, and I don't see Jeremy Grant. He has the best chance at kind of keeping him in check, but I don't see it. And then the other thing is for Jamal Murray. I do expect him to kind of put up some decent numbers, but I don't expect him to go crazy. A lot of people they sleep on KCP's defense and Danny Green's defense. I know they've kind of been up and down in terms of offensively in the playoffs, but they and Caruso, you can throw him in there as well. And now we're playing Taylor Horton Tucker, who's really surprisingly played really well. But I just think we have too many guys that we can throw at Jamal Murray all game long, all series long. I don't see them having. The Nuggets. The reason they scare me is they have young guys, obviously, like they can develop. They also have so much depth, but the problem, or I guess the problem, quote unquote, with this matchup is their depth is at places that doesn't I don't see will aid them too much, if that makes sense. They don't have the depth at wing in terms of players who can guard LeBron. Like I said, I know Jeremy Grant and Michael Porter Jr. I don't think either of them can do a very good job. I think Grant much better than Porter Jr. And then kind of their strength of the team is Jamal Murray guards, which the Lakers have a lot of defensive-minded guards, including Rondo. I forgot about him. And then Jokic, who the Lakers have AD. So I feel like the Nuggets' strengths are canceled because that's kind of the Lakers' strength as well. The Lakers lack depth at center if you're not confident in JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, and wing, or not wing, but more of like small forward, power forward, because Kuzma, yeah, he plays, but he hasn't always been the most effective. So that's like if you were to attack the Lakers, that was what I was most concerned about with the Clippers is they have Kawhi and Paul George, both small forward, I'll say wing guys, and that was more concerning to me before I saw playoff P or George Paul just completely be garbage. But so that's kind of my takes on the series. I think Lakers in 6. I think they'll win 4-2. And yeah, I just think that their strengths kind of outweigh the Nuggets' strengths, and so I have the Lakers and Heat in the finals. What I will do is definitely give a preview to my finals. So hopefully the Lakers are in it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry about this being last minute, but let me know what you guys think. As always, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.